Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast. Hi!
Hi!
Welcome to the Port Charles 411, and today we are so excited. We are going to start our Fan of the Month. So we picked a General Hospital fan for us to interview. And the first one is Ashley Morgan, and she actually had emailed us talking about, suggesting it. And it's funny because you and I had actually already started kind of talking about it. You know, you had mentioned you really want to talk to more fans.
Right, great minds think alike. It's fun to hear how people started and what their favorite stories are. And I think a lot of us got started around that same time. The storyline of Stone and Robin really got all of us people who like to still think that we're 20 something, but unfortunately are around 40 or getting close to that we started around that time frame. So yeah, it's interesting to hear their stories. And Ashley was one of those people who, like us, started around that same time.
Yeah, so we hope that you enjoy our conversation with Ashley. So hi, welcome, Ashley.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being our first Fan of the Month interview. I know that we've kind of been going back and forth about this for a little while now. You had actually written into the show and suggested it. And it's funny because Amanda and I had actually been talking about, wanting to connect with other fans on a more intimate basis. So, we definitely wanted to thank you so much and have you be our first guest. So
that's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've been watching General Hospital since I was 13 years old. In 1995, November of 95 is when I started watching. It was Robin and Stone's story that got me hooked on GH. I actually started watching soap operas like the summer of 95. I grew up in both my grandmothers and my mom I grew up watching CBS soap operas because they all watched CBS soap operas. So when I was 13 during the summer of 95, I started watching all CBS soaps. And then I started middle school that fall, and I met one of my good friends, Lindsay, in middle school, and she watched CBS soaps too. So we started swapping soap opera magazines, like Soap Opera Digest magazines, and we would talk about them. And as I was reading Soap Digest, I started seeing all the stuff about General Hospital and Robin and Stone. And I'm like, oh, this looks really, really interesting. I think I could really like this story. So I just came home from school one day. It was in November of that year, and I flipped on the TV back to turn to General Hospital, and I just kind of got mesmerized by Robin and Stone's story, and I just fell in love with General Hospital. So I guess that was when I started watching, and I've been watching ever since. And so so I love my soap operas. I watch them a lot. I'm a teacher. I teach blind and visually impaired kids, and I've been teaching since this is my 9th year teaching. So I've been teaching for 9 years, and I love doing that. And I love spending time with my family and friends. I have 2 younger sisters. Both of them have children, so I love spending time with my nieces and nephews. And so that's a little bit about me. I'm also blind, so I feel sometimes that kind of affects how I watch soap operas and how I kind of interpret what goes on, since I can't see what goes on, and that kind of played into some things throughout the years of me being a fan. So yeah, so that's just a little bit about me.
So has anyone else in your family swapped from CBS to General Hospital, or?
No, not really. My mom went back to work. My mom used to watch General Hospital actually in the 80s, with Duke and Anna and Frisco and Felicia. And then she stopped watching General Hospital when she went back to work when I was like 11. So she stopped watching, and then I kind of picked up, coincidentally, where she left off. But then back in 2011, I had to have eye surgery, so I was home from work for 6 weeks and staying with my parents. So I was watching my soaps then, and my mom, she kind of started watching with me then and was only watching with me while I was home and then kind of stopped. But she kind of recognized like some of the characters and stuff, but she doesn't watch anymore. My one grandma has passed, and the other one's in a nursing home. She doesn't watch anymore, but I haven't been able to like sway them. And I did get my best friend actually watching General Hospital. She started when I started watching because I was like telling her about everything. So she started watching it then. But so I guess I kind of got her into it, but she doesn't watch anymore. So I'm kind of like the only one. So I've just like I have like a big like online, community of people who I'll talk to the soap opera about. But yeah, no one in my family watches. I'm the only one. So
Do you mind if we talk a little bit more about what it's like? So have you been blind your entire life, or was it?
yeah, we can talk about that. That's fine. I was born 3 months early. My mom was 27 weeks along when she had me, and I only weighed 2 pounds when out. And my lungs were severely, underdeveloped when I was born. So I was on, oxygen and a vent and all that. And the doctors gave me too much oxygen when I was born, and it damaged the retinas in my eyes. And so growing up, I had no vision in my right eye, and I had very little vision in my left, where like the only way that I could see things if they're really, really big and up close to my face. Like that was how I was able to see things. So if I was like watching TV, I was literally sitting like on the floor, like on top of the TV. Like I was so like super up close to the TV, so I could see like what was going on, and I could see like some things. Like I could see like outlines of like people and stuff, and like my family and my friends, I could see like outlines of them, but I couldn't necessarily tell who they were just to like look at them. I still had to rely heavily on voice for me to be able to tell like who people were and everything. And then like throughout school, I used a special machine called a closed circuit television. That's like, it's a TV screen, it's the size of a TV screen, and then it has like a camera built into the monitor, and then there's like a floating tray that's attached to the monitor, and I can put like books and papers on the tray, and then the print would be magnified onto the screen. So that was how I was able to learn how to read and write print.
Okay.
So I used that machine all through elementary, middle school, high school, and college. And then I started learning Braille when I was 11. So I learned that like in 2 years. And so then I was like doing Braille and print. So I was like a dual media reader by the time I was 13. And then when I was 11, I learned how to use my cane so then I could travel independently. So that's how I was able to read the soap opera magazines throughout, because I used the CCTV to help me read the print. So that was how I was able to read. But then 9 years ago, I lost the rest of my vision. Like I went to bed one night being able to see like everything that was normal to me, and then I woke up the next day and I couldn't see anything. Everything was pitch black. That was like on a Saturday, and I'd moved away from my parents because I had my first teaching job, so they had to come down to get me where I was living and take me back up to where we lived so I could go to the doctor. And by the time they got me to the doctor, we found out that I had glaucoma, and that took the rest of my vision. So now I see nothing at all. So now I'm just totally blind. I have no light or dark perception or anything like that. It's just total darkness. So now I just, use my sense of, hearing and whatnot to be able to watch TV. But even when I could see, I still relied a lot on my hearing to be able to watch TV, to hear like what was going on, because I still couldn't see like real great. And since I've lost the rest of my vision, like, I have no idea what anything looks like now. Like, the things I could remember what they look like, now I've lost, like, all those visual memories. So yeah, that's kind of how I see, or how I used to see, and now how I see. So.
And isn't there something on TVs where they can describe what's going on the screen?
Yes, there's like audio description. Like, so Netflix has audio description. So if I'm watching like a show on Netflix, then it'll describe to me what's going on, so I know what's going on. So I'll use that if I'm watching things on Netflix. But unfortunately, not every streaming service has it. Unfortunately, if I'm watching General Hospital, that doesn't have it. So I can't necessarily tell like what's going on, sometimes when I'm watching GH. So
Just because I really like compliance stuff, is that out of line with, I mean, shouldn't that be a standard, or is that just really a preference that if, Netflix chooses to have it, but other platforms don't?
um I mean, they've always been like, Netflix has always been like very accessible,
Okay.
and Hulu is, they keep going. I believe they're supposed to have it, but they don't make it like easy to necessarily get to, where Netflix is very easy to like set up, and Hulu is not. So I mean, you would think that everyone should have it, but that's not necessarily a requirement to have it, because you can function without it. You know what I mean? Like, I can still watch TV and find it meaningful if I'm watching something, whether it's on a streaming service or just watching TV and not have the audio description. It definitely makes it nice, but I feel like
Yeah.
it's not, a necessity where I absolutely need it, but it definitely makes it nice.
Well, I hope that it becomes the standard soon, because
Yeah, that would be nice.
Amanda, guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for me to pick out my FabFitFun selections.
Oh my gosh, you were so excited with the last box. What are you going to get this time?
I love FabFitFun. Seriously, I've been using it for over a year, and at first I was like, do I really want to, spend money on that? Yes.
I know how
You
excited
get over $200 worth of products for only $49.99, and it's once a quarter.
That's not bad at all.
No, not at all. One of the items that I'm getting in my spring box is a light therapy anti-wrinkle light. I've seen them listed other places for well over $100, and that's going to be
awesome.
included in my box. They also have robes, different lotions, sprays. There's a really cute umbrella on there. Tons of things for you to pick out.
You're making me want one.
You could go to our website, pure54podcast.com, and just go under the savings tab and click the get offer button under the FabFitFun. Make sure to use promo code Rainbow and you get $10 off your first box.
That's a deal.
It's amazing. So go check out our website, pure54podcast.com, and make sure to use promo code Rainbow for $10 off your first box. And you're going to love it.
Yeah, what has been your favorite resources for your online friend making? Is there a certain Facebook group or Instagram, or where do you find most of your information?
I use Twitter a lot, and then I'm also on the General Hospital fans group on Facebook. So like, if I'm watching GH and like I like don't understand, like, okay, there's something going on, I don't know what happened, but I know something happened, then I'll usually like get on the General Hospital fans group on Facebook, and I'll like ask like what went on here, and like, give a specific instance as far as what happened in that day's episode, and ask them like what happened, and then someone will usually respond and like tell me what had happened if I'm not quite sure about, certain things. Or sometimes, like, I don't know, I mean, like, I go a lot by voice, and I know sometimes I just get curious sometimes about what do people look like? Like, because sometimes I just kind of wonder, like, so I haven't really asked that a lot on that group, but sometimes, like, on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter too, so on Twitter I'll sometimes ask, like, well, what does this person look like? What does that person look like? Because sometimes I just wonder, because some people like have really hot voices, like Josh.
Yep.
Yes.
Like Josh Wicker, who plays Case. Like he sounds so cute. Like
And he really is. I mean,
Yes, his voice definitely matches how hot he is.
he is delightful to
yeah,
watch.
he just sounds really cute. As an example, So I might get on Twitter and like ask those types of questions, but usually the more like drawn out, longer questions that I feel like would probably need more of an explanation, then I kind of save that for like Facebook and Facebook groups, because I can kind of be a little more descriptive and people can be more descriptive in their comments. But then and on Twitter, I talk to these group of women. They're all, I'm pretty sure most of them are older than me, and they all grew up like watching General Hospital in the 80s, like with Duke and Anna and Robert and Holly and Frisco and Felicia. So we have these viewing parties every week on Twitter. Like on Friday nights, we'll watch like a series of videos from like Robert and Holly's story, and we'll like tweet about it. And then Sunday night is Duke Lives. And Sunday night we'll do like a series of videos from Duke and Anna's story, and we'll tweet about it, and we'll go back and forth, and that's what we do like every Friday night and every Sunday night. We'll do that sort of thing. I've been doing that since I think like 3 years now. I've been doing that. So yeah, and I don't even know how I even came across it. I think I was it came up on my feed, I think, somehow on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, this looks interesting, and I kind of just came upon it, and then they pointed me towards all these YouTube channels that have like all these complete stories of like Robert and Holly's story and Duke and Anna's story and Frisco and Felicia's. So like it's a whole YouTube channel dedicated to all these couples. So I've connected with that community on Twitter, and I'll ask them questions, as we're tweeting, throughout our weeks. I'll ask them questions about like, well, what's going on, or what does this person look like, if I'm like super curious. So I'd probably say I'm most active on Twitter and Facebook. So those are the communities that I go to.
You want to give a shout out to the women in your viewing parties and everything?
I'm trying to think of their names. There's RHDA 8386. She's the one who's kind of like in charge of like all the Robert and Holly stuff, and she has like an amazing Robert and Holly channel that has like their whole entire story on it. We use that on Friday nights for our Robert and Holly viewing party, and then she also kind of oversees the Duke and Anna viewing party that we have on Sunday nights as well. And then the other Twitter handle, I think it's called Frisco and Felicia. I believe that's the Twitter handle. And they have a YouTube channel that has like all of Frisco and Felicia's story. Frisco and Felicia, an undying love affair. That's the name of the YouTube channel. So they have that as well. So yeah.
I know that you're a fan of the show, so you know how much I appreciate a good YouTube channel. So.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. Oh, they're awesome. I could like email you the links of the YouTube channel. They're amazing. I watch them all the time. So.
I'm gonna have to check out some of the Holly episodes, because I think I made people mad when I said she wasn't my favorite person.
Oh, I love Holly. I actually got to meet Emma Samms last April. And she was so nice. My mom took me to the General Hospital, the fan fantasy event that they do every so often, yeah. And they had a GH Legends event in Cleveland. I live an hour from Cleveland, and they have a GH Legends event last April, and I got to meet Jackie Zeman, Emma Samms, Leslie Charleston, John J. York, Ian Buchanan, who sounds really hot, and Tristan Rogers. And he's hot too. He sounds hot too. So So I got to meet all of them last April, and that was a lot of fun. They were all so nice, and it was really, really cool. I enjoyed that a lot. So
So you're
that was
actually not
fun.
very far from us. So maybe sometime if we ever get out of this quarantine and they start back up the fan events, maybe we'll be able to coordinate where we can all go together.
I know that would be fun because my mom took me to another one before last April. We went October of 2018. We went to Cleveland, and that was my first one. October 2018, and we went to Cleveland, and I got to meet Lynn Herring, Laura Wright, Eden McCoy, Josh Wicker, Michael Easton, and Roger Howard. And we got to meet them that day. So that was a lot of fun. That was the first one we went to. And I asked my mom, like, can you take me? She's like, yeah, we can go. And so, like, the day of that event in October, I just found out about the GH Legends event for that next April. And I'm like, well, can we maybe go to that one too? I'm like, all my favorite people are going to be there. Can we please go to that one? And she's like, well, we'll see. We'll see how today goes, and then maybe we can. I'm like, okay. So we went that day, and I was like in heaven. Like I don't think I stopped smiling like until we like left like the hotel that day that the event was held in. So it was awesome. But when we left, she's like, well, she said, wouldn't it be neat to, like, for my 14th birthday, my parents had got me the General Hospital complete scrapbook. It was like this big coffee table book of like the history of General Hospital, and it had like interviews with cast and just like story, like the complete history from like 63 all the way up to 95.
We both have that book.
You have that book?
Yep,
Yeah.
we both do.
Okay. Oh, then so you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So they got that for me for my birthday. And then when I lost the rest of my sight, I'm like, I can't read my soap opera books anymore because I can't find these anywhere. So I was like really, really bummed. Like when I lost the rest of my sight, it was like, I can't read my book. So that really upset me. And so I got rid of all of them. I'm like, I told my mom, I said, let's just get rid of them. I can't read them. Just, let's just get rid of them. So then, fast forward to October, 2018, when she's like, well, we can go to the GH Legends in April, and she's like, wouldn't it be fun if they could like sign your book since like they're all like in your book? And I'm like, well, I don't have my book anymore. You got rid of my book. And she's like, no, I didn't. She said, I kept it. She said, I'll find it and we can take it. I know, we can take it so they can sign it for you. I'm like, okay. I was like near tears. It's like, I didn't think you kept it, and she kept it. Like, she's like, I didn't want to get rid of it because it meant a lot to you. So so she kept it for me. So she found my book for me. Like, as I got closer to April, she found the book for me, and she brought it over to my apartment, and I wasn't home at the time, and she left it on my island in my kitchen, and I got home, and she texted me, and she's like, there's something for you on your kitchen and your island in your kitchen. Okay. So I went in there, and I found it, and as soon as my hand touched it, it's like, oh my gosh, that's my book. So I sat down, and I started crying, and I was like flipping through the pages, and I'm like, that's my book, and it felt just like the way that I remembered it feeling when I was able to read it and everything. So we took it, and my mom and I went through, and I told her, I'm like, well, you need to mark the page like pictures of everyone are so they could like sign her pages and everything. So we like went through, and I had her like mark where I wanted like people to sign the book. So we went that day, and everyone got to sign the book who I met, and now I have the book. It's sitting in my study, and I can't read it anymore, but it's still with me, and now I have like another nice memory attached to it because it has everyone's signatures in it who I got to meet last April. So that's really special. So yeah, so now I have the book back with me. So
Mom is amazing.
I'm trying to think what else we said we wanted to ask. I could talk to you all day, Ashley. You're so sweet.
Oh, thank you.
All your stories are so interesting. We haven't done any of the fan weekends yet, so I love hearing who everyone's got to meet and how nice they were in person.
Yeah, they were all very, very nice. Very, very nice.
Is there anyone that you haven't met that you would like to meet?
I would love to meet Tanya Walker, who used to play Olivia Jerome. Oh my gosh. I loved Olivia Jerome. Like, I know she was evil, but Tanya Walker's acting she's just so amazing. Like, she just plays the character so well, and she plays evil so well, and I love watching her. I would love, and I know she's not on General Hospital anymore, but I would just love to meet Tanya Walker. I think it would be so amazing to meet her, and I really enjoyed when she came back in 2017 as Olivia, and I wish she would come back as Olivia, because I feel like there's so much more to her story that they could touch upon that they didn't, and they like kind of left some loose ends that I feel like need to be tied up. So yeah, I would love for Olivia to come back, and I would love to be able to meet Tanya Walker. I will say that. So
That's
yeah.
awesome, and I love that you picked, I don't want to say a lesser known character, but a lesser known character. It's,
Mhm.
what would you say your favorite storyline is? Doesn't have to necessarily be her, but what's your overall
Um.
favorite storyline?
Oh my goodness. I would say, okay, probably my favorite storyline that's going on like right now currently in the show, I would say probably everything that's going on with Michael and baby Wiley and Willow. Like, I really love Willow. I mean, she's a teacher, so like when she came on, I'm like, oh, she's a teacher. Like, I just felt like a special place in my heart for Willow Tate. I love Willow. I don't. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen with Michael, and if Michael ends up marrying Willow, I seriously gives me flashbacks of back like in, was it 98, 99, when Chloe had to marry Ned and Jax had to marry Alexis. Like, that seriously reminds me of that. So it's like, if Michael and Willow have to get married, like, what does that mean? What's going to happen with Sasha? Like, she's not going to be okay with that, even though she suggested it. But I don't think that she's going to be fine with it if they end up getting married. And then you have poor Chase. Like, he's not fine with any of it. So that's probably like my favorite story that's going on right now. And I like the stuff with Finn and Anna. Like, I really enjoy Anna too. Oh, Fernella Hughes. I'd like to meet Fernella Hughes one day too. That'd be fun. So yeah. But so I'd say those two stories, Finn and Anna, and everything with Michael and Willow. That's what I like currently. And then I would probably say, like, from back, I don't know, earlier, I really liked everything with, like, Liz and Lucky. Like, when Liz and Lucky first started dating, like, I was a freshman in high school when they, like, started dating. And, yeah, I can remember going to school with my friends, and we would talk about Liz and Lucky. So I feel like Liz and Lucky hold, like, a special place in my heart. And then just everything with Robin, just with her dating Jason and all of that stuff back then. Because I feel like Robin was what drew me into General Hospital when I started watching it. And I just became like, oh my gosh, like, I loved Robin Scorpio. Like, and everything that was, like, linked to Robin Scorpio, like her parents and everything. So I would say, like, stories with Robin and Jason, and then Liz and Lucky, those were my favorites, I think, like, when I was, like, a new fan and kind of going through high school and in college, because I feel like they were very present throughout my whole time, like, in high school and college. They were, like, the two things that kind of went with me during that period of my life. So, things were rough. I could turn on General Hospital, and there was Liz and Lucky, or there was Robin. So, yeah, those are probably my favorites, But then I have all the stuff from, like, the 80s with Duke and Anna and Robert and Holly and Frisco and Felicia, which those are, like, my 3 favorite 80s couples. But I just, like, discovered all that on YouTube. So, but as far as stuff like that I actually got to watch when it was actually happening, it was everything with Liz and Lucky and Robin and Jason.
YouTube's the best.
You can get lost in that rabbit hole for way too long. So is there any stories that you wish would have gone differently if you could rewrite them that you would change?
I don't know, really.
Well, you mentioned
I
there's
guess,
a lot of
well,
plans that they didn't tie up with Olivia. What would
Yeah, like I guess the whole thing like with Griffin and like being Duke's son and whatnot, I would say just knowing more about like where Griffin necessarily came from, because it kind of sounds like Olivia knew more about Griffin and like where he came from. And then Olivia was also linked to like Valentine and like, how that all plays out. Like, what does he know? What does he have on her? So I guess just having some more closure with all of that. So, because I kind of feel like, okay, when Olivia left in 1990, when she was shot by her brother, like she was totally over Duke. She had moved on from him. She was with Colton, and she was happy with Colton, and she moved on. And then when she comes back in 2017, she was all hung up and obsessed like with Duke again, and she wanted to make a Duke in a jar with a strand of his hair and bring him back through his hair with his DNA. And she was obsessed with him again, and she wasn't obsessed when she was killed off in 1990. So, like, yeah, I don't quite understand that. So I guess if I could rewrite it, like I would make her return a little differently, because she wasn't hung up on Duke when she left back in the 90s, and she was when she came back. So yeah.
I like that, Duke in a jar.
Yeah.
So if there was one character that you could have dinner with, who would it be?
I would say Robin. Definitely Robin.
I can't. Oh, who's your favorite pairing of all time?
Oh my gosh, of all time, I have to pick one.
That's a really hard question.
I know.
Really hard.
You can name a couple if you want.
Okay. So my favorite pairing of all time, Duke and Anna and Robert and Holly. Those are my two favorites of all time, I would say.
Aww.
And Robin and Stone. They were my first OTP, but that ended tragically. So
It did. I really like Robin with Jason. I
me
understand
too.
why she's with Patrick, but I don't feel like it's ever been what she had with either one of those,
I know, because Stone was so special, because it was her first true, like, her first love, and if he hadn't died, I think they would have been together. Obviously, something else would have happened to probably bring about some angst, because it's soap opera, but I feel like they would have been together. But then I love Jason and Robin, because he gave her hope and he gave her a future after Stone had died, and I thought that was so special, because he saved her, and that was sweet, with the whole scene with them being on the bridge, and she just felt so helpless because Stone was gone, and Jason finds her on the bridge, and so yeah, I feel like that relationship between Robin and Jason was special. Like I really enjoyed that after she lost Stone. And I can remember like when Robin returned 2005, 2006, I can't quite remember. But when she came back after being gone, I kept thinking, like, before Patrick came about, it's like, what are they going to do with her? Like, they're not going to put her back with Jason, and then Patrick came in to the picture, and, like, I liked Patrick and Robin together, but I just felt like there was just, I don't know, I kind of felt like there was just a special spark between Robin and Jason, and maybe it was because everything that happened with Robin and Stone, but I don't know, I've always had a special place in my heart for Robin and Jason.
Because it's almost like they saved each other, because she was grieving,
Yeah,
and then she
right.
stuck by him during his
and he had his accident, and she accepted him. Yeah, she accepted him for who he was, when everyone else had a hard time believing that he was no longer Jason Quartermain, and she loved him for wanting to be Jason Morgan. So yeah, I think that's what made them so special. So I was bummed when they broke up and she had to move to Paris permanently. So
everyone goes to Paris.
I know. Paris is the place to be, I guess, if you're going to leave. So
I don't think we have any other questions. Amanda, can you think of?
No, I don't think that we have anything else.
So is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
I don't think so.
is there anything that we can do for our podcast, um, for you, like, and for maybe anyone else that might have, I mean, I know you listen to a podcast, but at the same time,
Mhm.
we when we describe things, it's because we visually see them. So would there be anything
Right.
that you have a suggestion for us
I
to
mean,
help people?
I feel like you guys are doing a good job. I can tell you personally, like one of my favorite podcasts that I've listened to of yours I love the Valentine's Day episode where you guys talked about like your favorite moments, and you guys had actually gone back on YouTube and you'd watch the favorite Valentine's moments of that the fans had told you about. You guys were so descriptive in that episode, because I know there were some things that's like, I didn't know that Anna was wearing like that color of whatever. Or I didn't know that she was doing that with her foot when they were watching Robin dance. Like, so it's like some of that visual stuff like I didn't necessarily know, and then I got all that when I listened to your podcast, and I'm like, so I just love how descriptive you guys are in talking about everything. So I know there's sometimes like if I'll watch an episode and I don't think to necessarily go on to like ask anyone about what happened, you guys will cover it in your weekly recap. So I love how descriptive you guys are whenever you do your weekly recaps. So those are helpful too.
Well,
So,
good. I'm really glad to hear that because, we definitely want to be all inclusive and make sure that,
mhm.
anyone who watches the show gets a benefit from it. So that's great
Yeah,
to hear. If you ever
yeah.
have a suggestion, please feel free, let us know.
Okay.
Is there anything that you want to ask us?
How long have you guys been watching General Hospital?
I've kind of been off and on. I started faithfully probably around 94 also,
Okay.
and then I took a break for a little bit as I started having kids, and then would come back to it. Kind of like you
Okay.
said, just one day you turn it on because there's nothing else going on, and then it gets you hooked
Right.
right back again. So,
Yeah.
but probably faithfully again for like the past 12 years, I would say.
Okay.
And then kind of the same with me. I mean, I grew up with it always. My mom watched it when I was younger. So they got married October 1981, which would have been a
Mhm.
month before Luke and Laura got married, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
A month. Yep.
And
Mhm.
they didn't have a TV. And my mom was like, "You are getting me a TV because I'm not missing this." So she was really dedicated, but then I think she kind of, fell away after having kids and whatnot.
Mhm.
But a friend of
Mhm.
mine's mom watched it. And so when I was in middle school, my friend and I would walk home from the bus stop. And so I would stop at her house and watch like the last 15 minutes. Had no idea
Mhm.
what the heck was going on the rest of it. Would watch it during the summer. But then when I got to high school, I would get home at 2:55. So
Yep.
just in time.
Just in
So
time. Yep.
that would have been 96, but then kind of the same as Amanda, it's like once started having kids kind of fell away. And then
Mhm.
I remember one time that I came back, it was the day that Tony Jones was dying. And
Okay.
I was like, what happened here?
Right.
And so I got more in sync then. And then I think I fell away only for like a year or two.
Mhm.
So I mean, I would say really consistently, probably, 12, 13 years at least.
Mhm.
I always feel like it's probably actually longer than that because 10 years ago to me feels like early 2000s and it wasn't.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Like it's like it's amazing to me. Like I think back like how long I've been watching it, and it's like, my gosh, it's been a long time. Like, and sometimes
mhm.
it's hard to think back. Like, okay, what happened during this time? What happened during like that time? Because it's an awful long time to be watching something, and you get a new episode every single day. So yeah, it's amazing when I think about how long we've all been watching it. We've all been watching it for such a long time. So,
And I
And I
think
think
that
amazing.
the storylines that were going on around 94, 95, because that was
Mhm.
when Karen and Jagger were on and Brenda had first come and
Yeah.
Simon and Robin. Those really hooked people around that age. Because I know just the other day we
Yeah.
were doing one of the episodes and I turned on YouTube to catch up on what had happened. Oh, with the Xander stuff the other day. And
Yeah.
my girls are around the same age that I was when I really started watching. And both of them were like, wait, who is this? We've never seen this before. And those same
Mhm.
storylines were catching on with them that had
Right.
caught us, back in the day. So they
Yeah.
need a good
I
storyline like that again.
Right. I just think it's just something about, like, if you're young, you're naturally attracted to, like, someone who's around your same age. Because, like, with all the other soap operas I watched too, that was the hooking point for me. It was always someone who was around my age, and then I got hooked on their story, and then just everyone else just kind of came into play with it. So I definitely feel like we definitely are attracted to those stories where we can maybe relate somewhat to what's going on, or at least someone who's in the same age bracket as us. So, we can relate somewhere.
Right. Yeah, they need to. I mean, we have Trina, Joss, and Cam pretty consistently. Dev should be coming back eventually at some point.
Yeah, I miss him. Like, I like Dev. I hope he does come back. So,
Well, I read somewhere that he was supposed to be written out and then people kind of complained, and so he'll be back.
okay. So he's coming back. That's good. I always kind of thought, like, Dev would be cute with, like, Trina. I kind of kept going back between Trina and Jocelyn. I wasn't sure who I'd kind of want him to be paired with, but I always thought he needed to be paired with one of those two. I don't know how I feel about Cameron and Trina. I kind of like Cameron and Joss better. So
We were rooting for Cameron and Joss for the longest time, but then it kind of just like staled out, I guess.
yeah,
I mean, they friend zoned at each other,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
yeah, they need some college age kids
They
because that's what
do.
they're missing. They have like, Maxie and Lulu are the young adults and they're
Mhm.
in their 30s, you
Yeah,
know?
I know. I feel like they need to bring something else in, but I don't know what. But yeah.
Well, this was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun as well. Nice.
Yeah,
Now we need
so
a road trip to Ohio.
I know.
Right?
I need a road trip out of my house.
I know.
That's true.
Same.
You have to go anywhere.
I know. Yeah, I'm only a couple hours from you guys. But where I grew up, actually, I grew up in Toronto, Ohio, which is right along the Ohio River near Steubenville, which
Okay.
isn't far from Pittsburgh at all. Because when I was born, I had to be life flighted to Mercy Hospital in Pittsburgh, and I spent my first 3 months in Mercy because they had a NICU unit, so I was there. So, and my eye doctor was in Pittsburgh when we lived down there. So yeah, so
That's really
I spent
ironic
some
because we
time.
just talked about Mercy Hospital on Was that Monday's episode or was that last week's?
Yeah, it was last Mondays when you guys referenced Mercy Hospital. I was like, oh, Mercy Hospital.
Well, good. There's
I know
some
Mercy.
good information about a Mercy Hospital. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Mercy, they did good by me, so yeah,
good.
it was good. It was good.
Ashley, thank you again so much for your time and for
Oh,
being a fan of the show.
thank you for having me on your podcast. I really enjoy listening to it, and I'm happy that I could be your first fan feature.
It's our honor. Thank you. Yes, thank you for all the feedback, because I love that you comment on most of our posts on Facebook so we can kind of see what everyone else is thinking. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, no problem.
All right, well, we will talk to you later.
All right, take care.
You too.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye. That was such a great conversation.
It was. She was so nice to talk to, and not only was the General Hospital side of it interesting, but just hearing how she listens to it, and I wasn't aware there were so many different things that can help the visually impaired still get the full experience.
Right. That was definitely part of my favorite. I mean, it's always fun to hear people and how they liked certain stories. I love that she brought out Olivia Jerome.
Yes.
She definitely had some answers that were not the standard,
Right. And I hadn't thought about the fact that Olivia should have so many answers about Valentine. Like, now would be the perfect time for her to come back.
It would, especially since I mean, Julian's got his stuff going on with Britt, but
Right.
not a whole lot else.
Hopefully those General Hospital writers are listening to us and taking all of our suggestions.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. And I was really glad to hear that her perspective of our podcast is easy for her to follow. I mean, yes,
Right.
we are an audio platform. However, we are talking about a very visual thing.
Yes. And sometimes we do get pretty in-depth, and I wonder if we get off topic because we get so deep into it. So it's nice to know that that's actually helpful. It's not just us being us.
Right, exactly. So that was really nice to hear. But I can't wait to do more of these fan interviews.
Yes, I'm excited. And she was close to us, right, in Ohio. We can cover the whole map of General Hospital fans.
We could do one in every state.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
Very
so we
exciting.
have Pennsylvania. Well, I guess we don't count ourselves. So we have Ohio covered.
Yes. Many other choices.
So if you're from one of the other states and would like to be featured on our podcast, you can actually just go to our website, peer54podcast.com. There is a form that you can fill out to submit your story to be featured as one of our fans of the month. Or maybe you want to nominate somebody too. Maybe you think that we need to talk to your Graham.
Yes. I would love to get some of those lifetime listeners that
Oh
know
yeah,
all the
from
back
day
stories.
one.
Yes. That would be
If
very
you or
exciting.
someone you know has been watching from day one, we would love to talk to you. We want to talk to everybody, but especially,
Yep.
just to get the 57 years. Oh my gosh.
Right? That would be like a 3-part podcast because we'd have so many questions.
Right. So yeah, just go to our website, peer54podcast.com, and you can submit yourself or submit a friend. I kind of really just want to talk to a Graham because I miss talking to my Graham about it. So if you have a
Yeah.
fun Graham that I can talk to, can I borrow her? So join us on Monday as we do our weekly recap of this week's episodes.
Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to peer54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Peer54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at peer54podcast@gmail.com.